So I'm just curious, do you have an anti-trans policy? Are trans people not allowed to be here?
Boycott against a bathhouse in San Francisco that protesters say has policies that exclude transgender people.
Then don't go. Everyone is so tired of all of you with this already. Transgender people really are trying to win the battle to lose the war at this point.
About 90 minutes into our hot tubbing, 2 attendants came in, singled him out, and asked him if he was transgender. He responded, "That's inappropriate. Why are you asking?" And they replied, "Because we had complaints." My friend responded, "I'm a man, so obviously I'm going to use the men's facilities."
And this is where I'm really starting to see more and more where we just have to start going by biological definitions for man and woman in all circumstances. Because as you will see in these 2 stories, there really is no winning with trans people right now. What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. All right, you guys, I wanted to talk about this because this is 2 different stories we're going to talk about in the same city, San Francisco, and I'm beginning to feel like trans people are doing this on purpose. Like, there was a point where the gays were being silly like that and really trying to go after businesses that they knew weren't going to cater to them, but they wanted to test them, and then they wanted to try to sue them or get them shut down. And thank God, as gays, we got over that real fast because it is not a good look. But that's what trans people are doing in these 2 stories. And in one of these stories that I'm about to play first, you'll see that one of the trans people that's acting as an activist in this story really is the worst kind of person. And not only the worst kind of person, the worst kind of person to be involved in this kind of protest. And I mean it when I say this could really hurt the trans cause worse than they're already hurting right now. I don't know why they're doing this. I don't know why the trans community or the trans activists feel like it's worth throwing it all away right now, especially when you don't have public sentiment on your side on any level. And the reason that I say trans people right now are winning the battle to lose the war is because they're able to force these businesses and these people to do and say what it is they want them to do and say. But in the long run, I really do feel like it's going to backfire. It is not going to work out in their favor the way that they think it is. So let's get into it.
Our Kelsey Thorne spoke with some of the protesters who insist it's a sign of a troubling trend in the country.
A group of transgender rights advocates are calling for a boycott of a San Francisco spa they say is enacting anti-trans exclusionary policies.
It's exclusion, it's discrimination. It goes against everything that I came here for.
Brett Mormoray says she was told she would not be allowed to participate in a ladies' night at Archimedes Banya unless she remained clothed at all times inside the clothing-optional spa.
I came from Alabama specifically to escape that type of prejudice and hate. I got here and I found out this city has just as much of it.
The Russian bathhouse offers 1 women's-only night and 1 men's-only night each month. On their website, they say the nights are to, quote, shelter religious preferences of women and men in their community. Therefore, they limit participation to sex assigned at birth.
It kind of set off some alarm bells for me because in a lot of Slavic cultures, like pre-Christian Slavic cultures, there was a lot of gender and sexuality was much more fluid than, and it was put down by the Christians. But even without all that, there are a lot of Catholic, Orthodox, Jewish, and Muslim people who are trans allies, if not trans themselves.
Jordan says she herself is of Slavic origin. To try and reach a compromise, the spa put out a statement saying they will offer 1 inclusive women's-only night where trans women will be welcome and another cultural and religious women's night where only those assigned female at birth will be allowed in. Jordan says that's no compromise at all.
That response is really discriminatory when you think about it, because if you had a night where you excluded, say, a certain race, that would not fly. And we're just saying that it won't fly. It won't fly. That trans exclusive nights won't fly.
Offer them to us every day. We're not any different than the other individuals.
Dakota Rose Austin says the controversy at the spa seems to be just another example of what she says is an increase in anti-trans policies across the country.
As Latinos, as trans, as queer, as African American, the fear is turned now. If you've weaponized DEI and affirmative action and all these other things that were in benefit of everyone in America, and you've weaponized them against us, now I'm in fear.
Protesters, including Breath, say they plan to continue to picket outside of the spa until they change their policy, allowing trans customers every night of the month.
Okay, so if you noticed in that story, the spa has said that they would compromise and have 2 women's nights just to accommodate the trans people. One that would be trans inclusive and one that was just for biological females. And that's still not good enough for these activists, which I really don't feel like are true activists. I think what they are is people that are trying to be in there for nefarious purposes. Because it's like, why do you insist on being nude in front of women that do not want to see you nude? That's what they're saying. They're saying that there are a certain group of women that do not want to see male parts. And even though you may hold up a sign that says trans women are biological women, that's not true. I hate to break it to you, but it's just not true. Trans women are biologically male. That's the biology of it. And I'm tired of people trying to redefine these things, because when I was coming up, it really wasn't like this at all. It honestly was like, because of the way society was and because of the way trans was at the time, you had a lot more people that thought like Buck Angel or Blair White, where they knew their biology, they knew they would always be what they were born, but they wanted to present, and their friends, me included, would treat them and talk to them the way that they wanted to be talked to. But outside of that, they had no expectation from the rest of the world that the world was supposed to treat them anything other than as another human being. And nobody owes you to see you the way you see yourself. And once trans people understand that, they'll be much happier. I don't feel like anybody that is humoring trans people right now and lying to them and telling them that they're the same as biological men and women is doing them any kind of favor. Really, what you're doing is setting them up for failure, because the world's always going to remind you of what you are. I don't care who you are. And then that one person, Breath was her name.
Breath Mormoray,
Which is a stupid name, by the way. I swear, some of these trans people, it's like you come out and you can name yourself anything you want to name yourself, and you choose a stupid name like Breath. But anyway, Breath is from Alabama and talking about the fact that they left Alabama to get away from all this. Well, find another place that's actually what you want, because San Francisco is changing too. San Francisco is mostly tech bros now. So the people that are looking for old San Francisco to come back, that ship has sailed. San Francisco is changing along with everybody else. So if you're not finding what you want there, find another city to move to. Find a spot that's going to be exactly what you want. And the worst part is the one that you saw talking that said it's like being a person of color and it's like DEI. The black trans person by the name of Dakota Rose Austin, that is actually a person that has been convicted of the R word.
Now I'm in fear.
And is considered high risk, level 4 on the California Registry of S offenders. She's an RSO, registered offender, and their actual name is Dwight Austin. And it was only in 2022 that this person ended up getting convicted of that, and like I said, was put on the registry at a level 4, which is a moderate to above average risk of repeating. So that's the person that wants to be in the nude with women, and everybody's okay with that. The trans community is pushing it. This person canvasses for the ACLU, which one day I'll talk about the ACLU, but they are doing us as LGBT people no favors at all. Like, a lot of the cases they're picking up lately really are situations that are making LGBT people look bad. And if the T thinks it's in bad shape now, let the ACLU, the HRC, and GLAAD keep telling you that these are actually good causes to go after, and watch the way you lose even more privileges than you've lost already. And notice, I didn't say rights, I said privileges. And I said privileges because it's not really rights that have been lost. It really is just privileges that people had extended to you. And there are certain cities and states like San Francisco and like California in general that really have catered to trans people in a lot of ways, or LGBT people, because I always put it under the umbrella. But really, as gays, we don't need any special rights. It really is trans people specifically. So when you're trying to go in spaces that you know aren't designated for you, and you don't understand that having an RSO does not look good for your community, but you're still putting that person out front, continue to do it your way. But like I always say, a hard head makes for a soft ass. No pun intended. Oh, and the other thing I want to mention is, do you notice how that person, the heavier set one with the mask on, like it's still 2020?
What if that
was talking about how in Slavic cultures it was why do we always have to go to Slavic cultures or the Mayans or the Native Americans before the settlers got here? What are we talking about? We are in 2025 in the United States of America. I don't care what went on 100 years ago or 200 years ago or 300 years ago in some other country, or even in this country if it was before 1776. How about we stop trying to dig in the past to find something to justify your bullshit? All right. So now let's get to the second clip. And this one is for the people that thought that only males could be creeps. Because this person is a trans man, so born female, now identifies as a man. And this person is at another spa. This one is a Korean spa. The last one was a Russian spa. But this Korean spa receptionist is about to get a brow beating from this trans man that just can't understand that they're not wanted on the male side because they're not an actual male. So exhausting, but let's get into it.
I took my friend to Imperial Spa in San Francisco's Japantown yesterday. About 90 minutes into our hot tubbing, 2 attendants came in, singled him out, and asked him if he was transgender. He responded, "That's inappropriate. Why are you asking?" And they replied, "Because we had complaints." My friend responded, "I'm a man, so obviously I'm going to use the men's facilities."
And I know I said this at the beginning, but I'll repeat it at this point as well. Because these people really have let me down. If you've been around this channel for a while, you know that I have always stuck to my guns and said that I will refer to trans people the way that they want to be referred to, as long as it's man or woman, he, she. I will not do the they and them. But I'm being forced to go all they and them with people because I can't respect these people as what they're saying they are. And it's because they refuse to understand that there is a difference between them and a biological. If there wasn't a difference, we wouldn't have to put the word trans in front of it. And I'm beginning to feel really silly about having stood up for these people this long and having really been adamant about it. Because while I won't argue with people down in the comments, I will see people all the time saying that I should stop referring to people that aren't male as he and aren't female as she. And it's just something that's second nature for me at this point. Like I said, I've hung out with trans people for the last 30 years. And so it's not hard for me to do that at all. But I'm beginning to see how it really is getting confusing for them. Because I always thought it was something that I did as a courtesy, or people like me did as a courtesy. And that there was this unspoken understanding that they know what they are. So of course, they're not going to try to assert that they are something that they're not. They know what they are better than we do, is the way that I've always seen it. But that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. And it's a real, I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you situation.
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you.
It's a real Tyra Banks moment I'm having right now. And a little bit of a come to Jesus with the trans community and the trans activists more specifically. So I'm really going to have to reevaluate what I'm doing here and what I'm saying and how I'm saying it, because these people are really acting up.
They got embarrassed and left. It felt pretty gross, so we got dressed to leave. My friend said he wanted to ask them about their policies. I got my phone ready because I had a feeling it would not go well. And this is what happened.
Good. So I'm just curious, do you have an anti-trans policy? Are trans people not allowed to be here?
So how we go based on that is, we go based female and male going to the parts. So if you have the female part, you go to the female side. If you have the male part, you go to the male part.
Okay. When the guy narrating said that he had a feeling that it wasn't going to go well, no, what you knew was you guys weren't going to let it go well. You knew that you guys were going to go make a problem out of this, so you made sure that you were recording so you could get maximum mileage. But what I have to tell you about this is the video itself, actually he had to turn off the comments, which tells me that people were probably saying, yeah, just go somewhere else. Because if they were getting support, you think that they would have turned those comments off? It's because everybody's tired of this madness. And I will repeat, the trans community really doesn't understand that people are turning on you faster and faster. Day by day, you're losing more and more support. You are hemorrhaging support right now. But you still will do things like this. And nothing about what they said right now sounds anti-trans to me. They said they're going by your parts. That's going by biological reality. To me, anti-trans would be saying that trans people aren't allowed to come in. They're letting trans people come in. They're allowing trans people to come in like everybody else. But just like everybody else, it goes by biological reality and not what you think you are in your head. Before we go any further, I'm just gonna ask that you like, comment, and subscribe. We're on our way to 100,000 subscribers. We just passed 73,000. Thank you very much, everybody. So please do your part. Click the subscribe button. When you click the subscribe, hit the bell and make sure it's set to all notifications so that you know every time I upload. Now let's get on with this ridiculousness. I mean, ridiculousness.
I'm not sure what you're meaning
So
by
as in like physical parts, as in like your genitals.
yes.
If you have the woman genital still, you go to the woman's side. And if you have the male genital, a penis, you go to the male side.
I can't believe she's having to explain this to these people like they're children. The rest of us all learned this in kindergarten, if not before. We all know.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
You either get with the program or you get to step in.
Well, what about women who have penises and men who have vaginas?
If we're being honest, that's not really a thing. Some of us, like myself, have played along, and I realize now that I am part of the problem. I'm having a real aha moment and fully comprehending that I and people like me, we're part of the problem.
You go to that side.
Segregate them.
We still go based on genital parts.
So you would put a man in the women's room?
So they have the parts, yes.
That's not a man, though, necessarily.
The definition of a man is an adult human male. The definition of a woman is an adult human female. Stop trying to confuse everybody just because you guys want to make it confusing.
We just go based off the genitals. What you were with, you're signed with the male has the genital part.
If you put a man in the women's room, you're going to have huge problems. You can't do that.
We have transgender male. They feel totally, if they still have, we're going to talk how it is. If they still have their vagina, they go on the female side, they feel totally comfortable.
Okay, I'm not gonna bust this woman's cake pops.
I got my cake pops removed.
Because I can tell that English isn't her first language, and I'm not saying that at all in an insulting way. I really do respect people that can speak more than one language, so I'm not trying to come for her like that, but there is that as partially a factor. And then there's also the fact that she's flustered because she's dealing with these people that are giving her a hard time about something that is very basic for 99% of the world. Most of everybody gets this, and it's not a problem at all. But what I would like to tell people to move away from completely is sometimes people will say trans male or trans female. That is completely incorrect. If you want to use trans man or trans woman, graduate to that and then move out like I am to the they and the them. As much as I hate to do they and them for singular people, that is starting to be the only way that I can handle it in a somewhat respectful way and still be true to what my thinking is, because the fact of the matter is, you cannot change from male to female. The thing is, you change the way you present. This is not about a change in sex at all. This is about changing your gender, the way that society sees you. And I'm not going to turn into one of those insufferable people that every time I see somebody say trans male or trans female, I'm going to be like, trans man, trans woman. I'm not going to be that person. I'm just letting everybody know This is one of the ways that we as a society can put down a boundary and make it clear that we know that you cannot change immutable characteristics about yourself. You can change the way that people see you, you can change the way that you present, but you cannot change your immutable characteristics like what you were born. We all are what we were born, and we will be that until the day we die.
Because we go based on what they have, the genital.
Yeah, but if somebody is a man, they need to go in the men's room. Just full stop.
Yeah, I wish nobody had ever taught anybody the term full stop, because full stop is always preceded by the dumbest stuff you've ever heard in your life. It's always something stupid and then full stop. So shut up with the full stop, because the truth is this woman is 100% right in everything that she's saying. You're either male or female, and males go on the male side and females go on the female side. Full stop.
Genital parts, we cannot let them go in.
You can't say that somebody's not a man based on what their parts are. If they're licensed and what they have said they are a man, you can't say that they're not allowed to go in a particular room.
That's our policy. So
Is that where's that policy?
I've never actually seen
Yeah,
that.
let's see that.
So you have genitalia written into your policy? Could I see that, please?
It has to go, that's how we go based off.
Well, that would need to be like in a policy for people to be aware of that, because
Take it up with God. So few people have problems grasping this concept that you're trying to make seem super complicated. And it really is turning into a situation where 1% of the population is 99% of the problems. Full stop.
So
I don't see that on your website. Is that written somewhere that genitalia is part of your policy?
It's not written, but we still go based off the gender and if their genital parts.
That's literally not how anybody defines men and women, especially in San Francisco.
Do you know what the word literally means? Because that's literally the way most of the world defines man and woman. And yeah, in San Francisco, I know they get real loose with the terms. They have a history of that. But the rest of the world isn't going with it, and even San Francisco is getting tired of it. That's why you got almost no support on your video that you put up about this, that I'm sure you thought was going to go viral, and everybody was just going to have your guys' backs and hold you up on their shoulders like you had really done something. And instead, I think you were at 7,000 views when I saw it.
Yes, if a man looks like a man, or if they define themselves as a man,
well, also
then they
if
go
they
in
are
the men's
legally
room.
a man.
And if they are legally a man, sure.
You have a man on your driver's license?
Nobody has a man on their driver's license. Everybody has either an M or an F, which is for male or female, and that cannot be changed.
So yeah, but we still go based on the parts. So if you have a female part, you go to the female side. If you have a male part, you go to the male side.
Okay. So, just so you're clear,
she doesn't need a just so you're clear. She's being very clear. She's been very clear. You two are the ones that aren't clear, and you're literally trying to gaslight her right now.
That is anti-trans rhetoric.
Well, then I guess reality is anti-trans rhetoric.
That is discriminatory.
The rule that we're saying.
Anti-trans
keep recording
rhetoric.
And then put that, but that's what we go based off.
Okay, I'm just letting you know.
So next time when you guys record, you have to ask for my consent.
Not necessarily.
Yes,
no.
necessarily.
Go
Okay, and
for
we
it.
also have the right to refuse our service.
Yup, right to refuse service. She should call the police and have them trespassed is what she really should do. And really what she should have done is as soon as they started arguing with her, she should have asked them to leave.
It's fine. I would never come back here, and I wouldn't ever tell anyone trans to come here because you are spouting anti-trans rhetoric.
And I've been coming here for 20 years, and I've never heard of anything so ridiculous as somebody come in and ask a man who is in the men's room whether or not they belong in there.
Our customers, a lot of customers are complaining, so we have to go.
Your customers, you should be educating them on what a man is and what a woman is, and it's none of their fucking business.
It is no business's job to educate people on what a man and a woman is, especially when the definitions that you want them to educate people with aren't even accurate definitions. Now, please, sir, put your pussy away and go home. The conversation is over. Take it or leave it. You can be there or not be there. And when you're threatening with, well, I'll just make sure none of my trans friends come here. Good. That's kind of what she wants if they're going to be a headache like you. If they're friends with you and they have your same mindset where they think they're going to force somebody or browbeat somebody into changing their definitions of male and female, as well as changing the way that every one of their customers defines male and female, then you're probably not the business that they want in the first place.
If somebody says that they're a man and you've got a man that's in the men's room, then it's none of their business. They don't have a right to complain.
You also don't have a right to judge people based on their based on their medical information. So just so you're clear, this conversation is starting now because he came up to me and asked me if I was transgender. So transgender status is a protected medical classification under HIPAA. So you don't actually have the right to go up to anyone and inquire if they are transgender. Furthermore, there are intersex people. Furthermore, there are intersex people.
So transgender status, I swear, the woman just came out of this person right now. And they're talking about intersex. Here's the thing, trans people. Everybody's tired of hearing the intersex argument. If you're not intersex, shut up.
That scientifically, medically do not fall into a binary gender, and you cannot tell that by looking at them. So the only way you know a man and a woman is based on what someone tells you they are.
Well, a lot of customers came and told us they've seen that, so we have, as my job, women go this way, men go this way. And we go based on genitalia.
The other customers saw you nude because everybody there is nude. They noticed you were female and they complained about it. Now, sir, put your pussy away and go home already.
Okay, but just so we're clear, I am not a woman.
No man has ever had to say, just so we're clear, I am not a woman, after somebody else just saw them nude. And to not be a woman, you sure are complaining like a Karen right now.
Okay, but
so I would never, ever, ever go into a woman's locker room.
Of California.
Okay, but we're going on the parts. So that's how we run our spa.
What you need to do is publish that policy because it is not fair to accost customers when they are here at a spa.
What you need to do is publish that policy. And as far as I can see, you two buffoons are the only ones accosting anybody right now.
You need to publish your policy on your website. So if you are going to segregate people by genitalia, you need to state that on your website. Does that make sense?
Be clear about who you want.
Yeah, so if you have anti-trans rhetoric built into your policy, you need to state that so people are aware of that, right? You need to stand by your policy. You need to publish your policy. You can't just let people come here and be accosted by this bullshit. Right?
Yeah, that was pretty rude.
So you need to publish that. Yeah. Right? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Say who you want, and then the people you want will be here. And that is not going to be me as a cis man in the men's room anymore either, because this is anti-transgender policy, it's anti-transgender rhetoric. It's completely unacceptable in this day and age, and completely unacceptable in San Francisco, really anywhere, but specifically here.
And specifically at this moment in time when transgender people are literally being eradicated out of legal existence, you guys should really be ashamed of yourselves.
Yeah, this is shameful behavior.
And you won't have me either as a cis man. I won't be coming back as a cis man. Girl, shut up. And by the way, do you think you're helping or hurting right now? If you're talking about the fact that people are trying to eradicate trans people, the full statement was actually eradicating transgenderism from public life, which, by the way that a lot of transgender people have conducted themselves lately, I could see why they would want to eradicate transgenderism, not trans people. They're not saying trans people, just the ideology that goes with what they call transgenderism. That's what they want to eradicate. But instead, you guys want to hear it as eradicating trans people, which nobody, even Michael Knowles, who's the person that's responsible for that quote originally, that you guys cannot let go of, but that's the person that was responsible for it. And if you're going to quote it, at least quote it correctly. What he said was eradicating transgenderism from public life. And with the way that transgender people are acting publicly lately, that's why they want to eradicate transgenderism. I'll repeat, Transgenderism, not transgender people, transgenderism, the ideology, the thinking, exactly what you guys are doing right now with trying to confuse people and make it seem like you belong places that you don't belong. Or the last ones that were upset because they couldn't be nude in front of biological women. Do you realize how creepy it is that both of the people in these stories really do insist on being nude in front of people that don't want them to be nude in front of them? And I know some people could take it out to, well, what if people started saying that about fat people? And what if people did start saying that about people of color? Nobody's saying that. What we're saying is there are certain places that we are segregated by sex. There are single sex spaces. And in this one, there's both. There's one available to you either way. It's just not the one you want. Same with the last story I showed. They can either go on the night when trans people are welcomed, the women's night that is welcoming of trans women, or they can also go on the male nights. Why do they need it available every single night of the week? And why do they have to force themselves on everybody else? Accepting your own body and accepting who you are and not being ashamed of yourself is one thing, but trying to force other people to look at it is a complete other thing. And like I said in the beginning, trying to force people to see you the way you see yourself when you're not actually by definition what that is, really is creep behavior. So while you guys keep using the word inappropriate and acting like everybody else is out of line, in all reality, you both are out of line.
Have a great night.
Have a great night. Well, not only does that voice not lie, neither do those hips. That ain't man ass. Believe me, I know man ass. And that is not man ass. And fortunately for all of us, that's the end of the video. Unfortunately for the LGBTQIA plus community, or the 2S LGBTQIA plus community, or the
2S LGBTQPIA plus
community, however you want to put it, this is the actual problem. And this is why LGBTQ people, and trans people more specifically, are losing privileges. Is because people like this cannot take no for an answer. People like this cannot understand that forcing yourself into spaces that you're not welcomed in or wanted in is not going to be a winning strategy in the long run. Because what these people did was they went ahead and called the city and they threatened to file a lawsuit. And then they went and protested every day to make sure that the business would actually start allowing trans people to go on the side that the way they feel most aligns with. And it turns out that California law does allow that. And this business was under investigation for that. And yeah, you got your way. You won this battle to eventually lose the war. Because the more people see this and hear about it, the more people are going to resist. The more people are going to stand up and just be like, yeah, we can't have this. Especially when it comes to trans women on the women's side. Because whether you want to accept it or not, people like that person, Dakota Austin Rose, really do just reinforce what it is women are afraid of or trying to be the most vigilant about when it comes to having trans women in the women's locker room, is that every once in a while a person like that does slip by. And if that person is in fact on the high risk side of the registry, it further supports what they've been saying. And really, once that happens, then the whole thing starts to fall apart, because you can't just say that only trans women aren't allowed on the women's side. Then you have to be even-handed about it and make it so trans men aren't allowed on the men's side either. And another quick note, at this same spa that we're talking about right now, there was a trans woman that gave a negative review on Yelp. She had talked about it in one of the articles that I read. And her complaint was that they told her at that particular spa that the next time she comes back, they're going to put her in a room by herself, because I guess she had gotten some services. I don't know if it was a massage or a scrub or both or what she had done at the spa, but she had something where she had to have one of the attendants or the masseuses deal with her, and the masseuse was obviously female, so had to work on a male body and let her know that she wasn't comfortable with it or she didn't like it. And that's where it really does become less about you just being you, which is what the trans community doesn't understand, is what you're ideally going for is for people to leave you alone. It's not to force people into seeing you the way you see yourself or buying into the way you see yourself. It really is about you just being left alone to be yourself and to express yourself the way you want to express yourself. But your expressing yourself should not infringe on anybody else's right to feel safe in a public space. Should not force a private business to change their policy because you want them to see you the same way that you see yourself. Because it's going to get to a point where they're going to have to actually enact laws about this and make sure that people are actually going to the side that aligns with what their sex is at birth. And once it becomes a law, then it's no longer just about people's discretion anymore. Then it really is about you are what you are, and you go on the side that you actually belong on. And I also think that if these things continue to happen, where there are actual threats that are coming into women's spaces, then it's going to be a slam dunk. That's the way I honestly feel about it, because at that point it's about public safety and not about any kind of rhetoric or just hate. You guys are allowing these numbers to become what they need to be in order to work against yourselves. And that's something that you refuse to understand. Anyway, that's where I'm at on it. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you want to see a video of me talking about the trans people that are going ape right now because there's an all-female gym in London, one location, one gym, trans people cannot handle that this is an all-female gym. She has to allow trans people in or they're going to try to drive her business into the ground too. So if you want to see that video, click the link on your screen. Other than that, thank you for watching. This has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.
They bought into his bullshit.